Disney Plus does not really give their energy, it looks like, to these types of shows anymore. Man, this is probably gonna be bad. Hey, Duality here. Welcome to my Wonder Man review. One of the things I admired about this story is that it was very, very well written. It was so meta that it was self-aware of what was going on. It made fun of itself, it made fun of actors, it made fun of Hollywood, and it really had deep storytelling without having to go into everything. I'm a baby content creator. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube to get more content like this. And what I want to do going forward in the future is you'll still get your short stuff on TikTok and Instagram, but if you come here, you'll get the longer versions in a longer format, a little bit more personalized conversations. So you can hear my innermost thoughts when it comes to shows like this. So Wonder Man. Wonder Man traditionally, they don't talk too much about him. He was always a part of the Avengers. He was actually on the West Coast because LA, Hollywood. And believe it or not, the reason why I'm wearing this Scarlet Witch jersey, one, because I love Scarlet Witch, duh. But two, Wonder Man and Scarlet Witch kind of has some things going on in the comics. And believe it or not, Vision, we know we love Vision, was based upon his psyche. So his power sets that they discussed in the show, and they didn't really discuss it until episode 8, he has ionic power. The ionic powers that he has can cause destruction, can cause explosions, he can fly, at least in this iteration. He's damn near invulnerable, and when I tell you, this man really muted his powers to try to keep himself in check. And I fell in love with this character more than I thought I would. I thought this was going to be another like passerby type of situation. Disney Plus does not really give their energy, it looks like, to these types of shows anymore. So the last one I recall was Ironheart, and we didn't get any publicity, we didn't get anything like that. So I was just like, man, this is probably going to be bad. But this really reminds me of WandaVision. It gives me those vibes of Agatha All Along, where you're getting that unique storytelling situation without missing a beat. And as silly as it sounds, I loved all the characters. Simon Williams, the main character, who is AKA Wonder Man, had so much of character development from the beginning of episode 1 to the end of episode 8. It was huge. Simon, again, and I said this in my little clips on Instagram and TikTok, was always a glass half empty type of guy, where to the end of the series or episode, mini-series, whatever you want to call it, he was a full glass. He was like, I can do anything. And before I get into everything, I want to let you guys know we are going to get into spoilers. So if you have not watched Wonder Man, please don't get upset, don't comment. I kind of took today off. I had to do stuff with my boyfriend. He had to go to the dentist. So, you know, if you pay attention to this page, timeline, so on and so forth, you can kind of gather where I'm talking about. But what I will share with you is watching these 8 episodes was a great payoff. Even if they had taken time to do the week over week over week over week episode, I probably would have still loved it. But I'm glad that they did the bingeable type of series because truly it made sense. It all fit together. Now, my favorite episode, I'm gonna go ahead and rip off the Band-Aid, was episode 4. Disney on Disney Plus always does something on episode 4. Episode 4 is the reveal. It's like, aha, da-da-da-da-da-da. They have what's called the Doorman Clause. Basically, the Doorman Clause was put there to stop people who are powered from being actors because it costs too much. Okay, let's get into a little bit of the lore. Josh Gad was in here. He was a fictionalized version of himself. He was hilarious. They made fun of Frozen. They made fun of him being in Beauty and the Beast. Mario Lopez was in here. You had actors that were themselves, and you had the personalities. That's why I said the show was very meta. It was very detailed without it being detailed. The director of the film literally goes, my home is everything that I have here is the things I love and hate about Hollywood. It's mixed together. The quotable quote was, no deal, he's clearly not trustworthy. And that came from Trevor. Trevor literally was probably the second best thing about Wonder Man. Trevor was the Mandarin. And I guess I could say that Trevor really was, in the beginning of the series, the glass half full where like towards the end of the series, it kind of flipped. They tried to hold up our good guy Trevor and was like, oh, look, we gonna capture yourself. And you, since you're a dummy, coming off of the plane, we gonna hold you together. Now, he had escaped prison somehow. They didn't really get into details. And when he had escaped prison, they was like, okay, I got you. I see what you did there. But they reduced his sentence when he had escaped. The good old
Department of Damage Control.
They were not mentioned back in like Spider-Man Homecoming. After what happened with the original Avengers, you know, the timeline in the MCU is every which way, left, right, up, down. Movies come out, but then it's this and that and that. I check Disney Plus for the full like timeline. But what I will make mention of is that this was another kind of like follow-up from it. I appreciated that it was a payoff, because Iron Man 3 came out in, I think, 2012, 2013. The Mandarin wasn't anything. Everybody was really pissed off that he wasn't who he said he was. In episode 7, everything all falls apart. And that's when everything is revealed. One of the things that happens is there's a lot of foreshadowing multiple times, like Wonder Man and Barnaby's like, you know, double crosses Wonder Man. And guess who plays Barnaby? Trevor. Trevor was promised essentially freedom if he turned in Simon. And there were a few situations where, because of Trevor, like Trevor and Simon was at a bar, they drinking, they getting drinks sent to them. Guess what happens? Homeboy like, yeah, you owe us money, you owe us this because of this and this and this. And they got Simon at gunpoint, they got Trevor beating him up. Simon demolishes those guys, AKA Wonder Man, uses his powers, throwing people around. But guess what? He gets caught on film. Guy with a GoPro in a scooter situation, that takes him to something else. The guy basically was like, if you don't help me get my motorcycle back, these gonna happen and blah, 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 blah. And I'm gonna upload this video. And Simon don't want the video uploaded because he's using his powers, going back to the doorman clause. So that was his motivation. And during this whole situation, all these paper things pop off. The nosy neighbor from across the street, you know, the Agatha, basically calls the police. So Trevor is there with Simon, with this other guy, can't remember his name, and another guy who was like snitching and basically like, I need my bike, and who was gonna snitch on, you know, Simon. And it all popped off. And then the people that beat up or tried to beat up Trevor, that Simon, you know, beat their butt on, basically was there, and everything happened at once. I always think about a situation like, okay, could you imagine a theater filled with people and the theater is ablaze, and then somebody pulls out a gun and it's just like, stay up, this is stick up, or it's like something crazy, and like, you know, that's how that was. It was literally 3 different plots going on in that one scene, and the police came, and then Simon was like, we got to get out of here, because he got a call from Janelle, who was like, you've been selected for Wonder Man. And there was a lot of self-doubt in this movie because of different things. Like, first episode, his girlfriend breaks up with him, like, I'm moving out the house. And when Simon's under great stress, his powers essentially explode. And one of the things I love that Trevor did was he taught him just like, just breathe, dude. Just breathe. He called it the box method. He took a little card, what are those things called? He took a coaster and he was just like, breathe for 5 seconds, inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, release for 5 seconds. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And also in one of the episodes, there was this reporter lady who like apparently trashed Gordon Levitt about some bloody pigeons. And Simon was so worried that she was going to uncover his powers. She had talked to his ex-girlfriend, his mother, his brother. And Simon and his brother's past were so like murky. You know, you have that sibling relationship with your brothers or your sisters, and it's like, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. His brother is a big shot, and he got money, and he redid mom's house. You know that scene, this one? Yeah, that's Simon's breaking his mama's island that just got built. Like, the house got redone, you know. His brother didn't even snitch on him, but the reporter turned her focus to good old Trevor and made Trevor so upset. And when that happened, that's when everything started to unravel in episode 7. He was like, is this true? Are you an escaped convict? Did you really do these things? And he's like, well, no, but yes. And in the Trevor way of Trevoring, he basically came out and told Simon, was like, well, I did make a deal essentially to get my freedom by turning you in. That's when Simon gets upset, and Simon goes into the set of Wonder Man, and his powers essentially explode. It's like a nuke went off. When I tell you the worst part about it is, I'm like, dang, how are we gonna get out of this? Well, Trevor takes the fall. And when Trevor takes the fall, the good old man, A. Cleary, whatever the man's name is, he like, we gonna get you, and I'm gonna be looking at Simon. Well, they take him away. Trevor dresses up as the Mandarin again. He's like, Trevor was actually the ploy, you boob. Like, he was full Mandarin garb, had the 10 rings on, nod to Shang-Chi, because, Marvel turns it on its head sometimes. What was super wild, at least from my perspective, was episode 8. So episode 8 starts off as Simon, and he's like, oh yeah, he's trying to be a method actor. He doesn't tell him what he's doing. He doesn't tell him why. He's following this guy in a small podunk town. And it's kind of weird. I'm like, this is weird that you're in an episode on it. Like, this is the last episode. Simon went dumb. The whole point of what Simon was doing was actually breaking Trevor out of prison. And how he broke Trevor out of prison was wild. And that last part of the show is where they actually describe his powers again being ionic, and that he can be a great threat or a great ally, depending on who he uses. He is powerful, and I can assure you that he is going to be in Doomsday, and he's going to be in Secret Wars. I know he is, because of how his powers are and how his powers set. He basically, I don't want to say uses the guy, because he actually ends up giving the guy money and takes care of his wife. So his wife was like, it isn't a bad thing. He was like, just don't tell anybody. That's what Simon kept telling the guy that he was shadowing for this acting situation. Do not tell anybody I'm here. And he ain't tell nobody that he was here. When he go to break out Trevor, he break out Trevor. And Trevor's like, there's guards, there's this, there's that. He's like, oh, we ain't going that way. He uses his ionic powers, and then, and that's how it ends. And what I will tell you is, I know you may not watch it because I just gave you guys all the answers, but let me know, comment how you feel about Wonder Man. Tell me how you feel about other upcoming Marvel projects, like, Daredevil Season 2, Born Again, Jessica Jones coming back. I like that. We're not getting a lot of movies other than like the Spider-Man one this year. And then it kind of goes to, Avengers Doomsday, which I'm upset that we got to wait until December, but I feel like it's going to be worth the wait. Let me know. Subscribe, follow, like, comment. Let me know how you felt about this, or even just tell me what your favorite Marvel superhero is. We'll go from there. But again, this has been Duality, and you guys have a great day.